Hey y'all, it's your friendly neighborhood advisor, Alex Quinn here, and today I'm talking about how to plan like a self-made millionaire. First, I'm going to go a little bit into what I mean by self-made millionaire, then I'm going to go into why it's important to take that approach. Next, I'm going to go into common myths and mistakes that I see people make when trying to copy the approaches of self-made millionaires. Then I'm going to give kind of general tips and guides, how-tos, etc., followed by insider tips that I've only heard on inside circles. So, firstly, what is a self-made millionaire? Well, for the sake of this conversation, I am defining it as a person who made it to be a millionaire on their own. Why are they a topic of interest? And usually they're a topic of interest. They're popular among people who are trying to duplicate their methods to reach the same success, or hopefully higher. So when I started looking into investing and the different ways that you can go about it, I started with looking at how people who were successful at it, what did they do? And when I looked into it, I ended up finding a lot of misinformation, a lot of scams, and I also had kind of the wrong approach to it as well. I was looking at what they did and trying to follow that approach, and it's more about how they did it. Now, obviously I knew to some degree it's about how they did it, but it goes a little bit more deeper into habits, more so than the actual, just the game plan itself. So now, without further ado, first mistake that I see people making is they think they need to have $1 million idea, and that is just not the case. Consistency is actually key here. Most self-made millionaires don't get there just from having a $1 million idea. They actually just kind of form over time. They see what does well consistently, and then they can really push on that. So see something that you keep coming back to, that you keep thinking is doing well, and you see over time is doing well, and just really capitalize on that instead. One thing that I found very interesting was that I did what a lot of millionaires do, at least the ones that I met that were self-made millionaires. I tried to copy what they did early on, and that actually, it didn't exactly lead to bad results, but it was difficult to replicate into situations that continued to profit reliably and in ways that were not stressful. And it was hard to find other opportunities. So it was more about the methodology of how they handled things in general. Those opportunities, when they went about them, their mindset, it just made it a lot easier on them, and that was part of the process that got them to come to those conclusions anyway. So it really is about the how. So myth number two that I hear, or mistake number two, however you want to think about it, is that they got lucky. And that is definitely not the case, because otherwise they probably would lose all their money moving forward. They actually, a lot of them do seem to get lucky in some way, and that's usually because they cultivate meetings, people, connections. They just really get out there. They try different things to learn from different things. They do a lot of experiments, and so that can seem like it's luck and inconsistent, but it's really just they make sure to get out there and try everything. Myth number three is that they do things solo, and while that is usually the case from a particular perspective, they actually do use a lot of people and know a lot of people. They get to know them through connections like I mentioned before, but also they do a lot of leveraging. They leverage other people's time, and it makes so that the time expensive things are using someone else's time, and that they're putting the money down so that they don't have to spend that time, so they can make bigger moves themselves. So you should value your own time definitely, and utilize other people's time so that you can basically have a team without needing to actually worry about having a team. Myth number four is that they're cheap, and in a certain way you could say that, but it's more about being frugal. They save money on everything that is not super important to them so that they can spend however much they want on the things that do matter to them. I definitely get this. I like to use the dollar store a lot, and then when I feel like going on a shopping spree, I love going to the dollar store and buying 100 things because it really doesn't break the bank. So myth number five is that you need to have a fancy job or a job that pays a lot, and that's actually not the case. You really want to have the mindset of having money work for you. If you save up that money, then you're losing thousands of dollars a year to inflation, etc. So you actually want to make money work for you, and you typically make more money if you invest it properly when you have a low-paying job than if you have a high-paying job and you're not utilizing it effectively or efficiently. So you actually want to make sure that you're paying attention to interest, investments, and what you should be doing with that money and how to start up your business. So general tip number one is similar to something I said earlier, but value your own time. Basically, determine how much you want to pay yourself. My time is valued at usually around $200 an hour. If it doesn't save me $200 an hour, then I don't really want to do it. Someone else should be doing it because I make bigger moves than that, and my time is more valuable. I need to relax, have some fun, and spend some time with my kids, my cats, etc. So really just kind of pay yourself, know what you're worth, and stick to that so that you're making the big moves and not just having all your time go away to nothing. General tip number two is replace if with how. Instead of can I get this or if I can do this, think about how can you do this? At what point can you do this? So a lot of people who have a poor mindset are typically thinking, I can't afford that, but then they go and they buy things anyway. People with a rich mindset usually are thinking, instead of can I get that, it's how can I get that? At what point can I get that? And they actually tend to spend less because they realize, you know what, it's actually not worth it. And so emotionally, they're invested in not spend it, and they actually are more likely to get the things they truly want instead of splurging on dopamine items. General tip number 3 is going to be that $20 is a cheap investment in yourself. And what that means is that a book, you may look at a dozen books and think, oh, that's expensive. Each book is $20. That seems like a lot. But people who are self-made millionaires typically think, well, if I spend $20 and I get some good ideas from this and I learn how to go out and do this successfully, then I'm going to be a millionaire, so it's really not going to matter. And actually, if I fail, that also won't make a difference. I won't remember that on my deathbed. So it's not a big deal. So don't sweat the little things and do what you need to do to invest in yourself to figure out what you need to do. General tip number 4 is to simplify life. So just kind of think everything that you're doing, every task you're doing, what problem are you trying to solve? Make sure you stick to why, so you're not doing something that isn't actually going to achieve you or give you any benefit. Are you simplifying something? Are you reducing work? Because if not, you're probably creating a task just for the sake of having a bigger system or a more robust system, but if it's bigger than it needs to be and more steps than it needs to be, then it's not helpful. So if it's not solving a problem and it's not making things simpler, then you need to just not do it. You should be having fun. And so tip number 1 is that tax is income. That's actually one of the 4 main ways, if not one of the 3 main ways that you should be looking at any business model you have. So tax isn't literally income, but that's one of the biggest effectors of your finances is how your taxes are handled, what you do, how you handle things, how you track things, how you file, all of that stuff. Especially if you go into real estate, if you look into investing in stocks, whether it be day trading versus regular investing, take a look into how the taxes differ on that, and you'll see some crazy things. Insider tip number 2 is that never fail. Always buy data. If you fail, if you make a mistake, it's not a mistake as long as you learn from it, but plan ahead of time. Make it so that whatever you're doing, that you're at least going to get data out of it. Buy data with your time. Buy data with your money. But make it so that when you go into this, you know whether or not this is worth it. You give it your all and know for sure that it's time to put it down, all right? So make smart decisions. Make sure that you learn from them and learn permanently, all right? Cross checkpoints. Insider tip number 3 about millionaires, a lot of self-made millionaires, they actually try to purchase their liabilities using assets. That means that they, instead of trying to buy something new like a car, phone, etc., they try to find something that makes money, and they will go and try to have it pay for the liability with the assets. That way they basically get it for free. So they put the money here first, this makes money, and then the money that it makes they use to spend on that. I don't entirely agree with it, but it's definitely smart and smarter than what I see most people do. Insider tip number 4 is to replace how with who. Instead of looking at how to do a thing, how can this be done, how should I do this, think of who should do this. Who is the right person for this? Is this something that you're good at? Is this something that you can pay someone $20 to do instead? And if you really think it's your big idea, then it shouldn't matter if you have to spend even a couple of $100s, but just try it, figure out if it works, otherwise go and try something else. It usually takes about 7 to 10 tries for you to find the gig that's going to do it for you. All right, so for the final insider tip, a lot of self-made millionaires that I know of, they consume models, not news. And what that means is instead of looking at what happened, like, oh crap, I need to sell or buy, they are looking at the model. They look at how it works, how it's affected, why it's affected, what happens because of it, what happens in the long run. They usually play 5 to 10 year games, not today, tomorrow games, like everyone else. And so that's how they tend to come out on top. If you have feedback, questions, or requests on what you'd like us to cover, feel free to comment. If you need more help leaving bad bosses and janky jobs, please let us know what will help, or see if our other videos already have the tips you need. That'll work for you.